Welcome to episode 11 of Afternoon at the Movies, a series of podcasts devoted to letting you know what's available at your local library. My name is Joe, and with me is
Daveen,
and we both work for the Charles County Public Library. Today we're going to talk about the documentary Last Days in Vietnam, which was directed by Rory Kennedy and was up for an Academy Award for Best Documentary this year. I felt like I knew a lot of things about Vietnam, but when I watched this documentary I was stunned at how little I knew in particular about the evacuation during the final days.
Yeah, same for me, Joe. As a lover of history, a lover of war history, I knew based on what I'd studied and researched why we went into the Vietnam War, but like you, I had no idea about the fall of Saigon.
Ambassador Martin was very naive, convinced that we would hold on to South Vietnam and support the government there. A lot of his subordinates came up to him when they pretty much saw the writing on the wall that South Vietnam was going to fall to the communists and said, we need to have an evacuation plan in place. And he was adamant that that was negative thinking. He would not consider any plans. But some officers, some civilian people, took it upon themselves to start getting their ducks in a row and on their own trying to evacuate Vietnamese who had worked closely with the Americans and were in danger of being at least imprisoned and at worst being executed by the North Vietnamese when they got there.
There were thousands South Vietnamese who needed to be evacuated.
And it was kind of like Schindler's List in that, isn't there one more person I can try to help get out of here? And there, at one point in the movie, they talked about, well, you know, the bakers, the people who were baking bread.
And the tailors.
You know, we should get them out, too, because they were helping us.
You think about the South Vietnamese who worked at the embassy. Their lives were in danger, but you just can't say, okay, we're going to take you. They had to go and then get their families as well.
Bottom line is that the evacuation was very slapdash. A lot of the exit routes they thought they would be able to utilize, they couldn't.
And so this evacuation was the largest helicopter evacuation in military history.
Right. They had to rely on helicopters because there was no other avenue. Just the efforts that the Americans went through to try to help as many Vietnamese escape as they could was rather awe-inspiring.
Yes.
And the individual stories were impressive all by themselves. But the fact that Rory Kennedy was able to find all this footage that was taken by civilians and military personnel at the time, a lot of which I had never seen before, just makes these stories that much more dramatic. Very powerful when those shots of people who ultimately are left behind are just still climbing over the embassy walls, searching for a way out, searching for freedom. It's sad.
It is.
And yet the amount of people they were able to rescue
is amazing.
In a very piecemeal fashion, was amazing. So we both
highly recommend
this movie. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.